actually impossible challenge. $15 CEDH combo deck. $800 might get you enough fast mana for your deck, but Wizards should reprint their shit. So, Brinks, it's not that I disagree with you. Wizards should reprint all of their stuff, but, so considering that all we need to do to make a CEDH deck is to make a glass cannon that can just be a game-winning deck on basically turn 4, if not sooner, then I think I've actually got the exact deck for you. And if you want to make this a full-powered CEDH deck, then of course you can go above my $15 limit, and instead of making this a I win on turn 4 deck, you can make this a deck that has a lot more resiliency and stuff like that. But we are just going to make a glass cannon that either wins on turn 4, or somebody else is going to hit us with Thassa if this is going to be CEDH. So let's go ahead and get into that. I swear this is going to be one of the fastest videos I ever make and one of the easiest videos to shoot ever, because this deck only has like 4 cards in it, and everything else is functionally just a Madness card where the text on it doesn't matter. The commander is Angie Falconwrath, or Onway Falconwrath, for those who want to correct me in the middle of card shops and get my ire. But Angie Falconwrath has haste and discard a card, draw a card. And if you discard a card, if it has Madness, then Angie will be able to untap automatically. So, we are running a deck that is primarily, and when I say primarily, I mean 45 cards deep, a Madness deck. Because the goal is to get Angie out and then either wait a turn cycle and win, or just win the turn Angie comes out. One or the other. That is what we are doing. That is how we are going to win the CEDH pod. We are a glass cannon. If we fail to do our combo, then we just lose and go to the next CEDH pod. Just like when somebody Thasses you in a CEDH pod, you just kind of have to accept it unless you had the counterspell in your hand, assuming you were playing blue and had counterspells to begin with. So let's go ahead and go over what the goal of the deck is. The goal is to make one combo happen. One very specific combo. And let's talk about how we're going to get to that combo. Starting with the ramp section of the deck, which looks a little different than our normal ramp sections. So because we are playing in a CEDH environment now, all of our mana rocks must be 0, 1, or 2 mana. We can no longer run 3 mana rocks. We have to make sure that all of our stuff is lightning fast. So let's begin with Desperate Ritual. We can pay 2 mana to add 3 red mana to our mana pool, and we have Dark Ritual. We can pay 1 black mana to add 3 black mana to our mana pool. These are both ways to make sure that we can go online as early as turn 1, depending on what our mana setup and circumstances are. Soul Ring is another 1 mana rock we have access to at this price point, and we also have Strike It Rich, which will set us up for the turn later, as 1 mana gets converted into a treasure token that we can use for anything at all. It's also got Flashback in case we feel like we need to sack it out of our hand with Angie, but again, we're trying to win on turn 3 or 4, or just move on to the next table, functionally. And then we have Arcane Signet, a 2 mana rock. Prize Statue, ETB, gives us one of our treasures, and that's important for how the combo we are going to initiate later works. Mind Stone's basically a 2 mana rock we can use to sack and draw a card. We're probably not going to get into the late game, though, so that doesn't matter as much. Halo Scarab, we can exile from our graveyard to make a treasure token, which is important because our commander's probably going to dump this out of our hand 9 times out of 10. Mirror Convert, a 2 mana rock with a body attached to it. Charcoal and Fire Diamond, 2 mana rocks we can play at our budget level. Ornithopter of Paradise is Arcane Signet on a body with a booty of 2, and then Kalane Reclusive Painter. Anytime it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token, which is important, again, for the combo we are going to be playing. Other creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter for every mana from a treasure spent on them. That line of text will never matter. The only line of text that matters is getting a treasure. Also, apparently, Kalane's got quite the chest. I never noticed that Kalane had quite the chest she does there. I may have a problem. I may have 2 big problems right there. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go ahead and talk about the next important part of the deck. This is the Madness package. There are 45 cards in this deck that say Madness, because what we want to do is play Angie Falconwrath, discard a Madness card, untap Angie Falconwrath, discard a Madness card, untap Angie Falconwrath, discard a Madness card, and get to basically our entire deck. Get through our entire deck. The actual function of any card in this Madness package doesn't matter. You can use whatever Madness cards you have lying around. They don't matter. The only thing that changes when you increase the budget of this deck is going down by about 10 Madness cards to add more interaction and changing out some of the ramp spells for more expensive ramp cards. Aside from that, this deck will look the same every single way you could build it. So, let's take a look at our Madness package. Gorgon Recluse, it has a bunch of words on it, but it says Madness. Iker Slick has a bunch of words on it, but it says Madness. Realistically, cards like Iker Slick and Dark Withering gives us the ability to kill cards in the deck. Terminal Agony lets us kill cards in the deck. Kitchen Imp can come out as a blocker for a Voltron commander if you ever encounter those in CEDH. I've only seen one person play a Voltron deck in CEDH, and that deck was scary, but I've only ever seen Earl the Misttalker once in my life in CEDH. Then we've got Sycophos Reaver. Its text doesn't matter. Revolutionist enters the battlefield, take an instant or sorcery from our graveyard, put it back into our hand, which might matter depending on what happens in the deck, but 9 times out of 10 it won't. Reckless Worm, it has Trample. That's cool, but it also has Madness. Murderous Compulsion, it can blow up a tapped creature, which is interesting, but it also has Madness. Just for every one of these, note that most of what I'm going to say is the card has Madness, and that's why we're running it. Alchemist Greeting can blow up a creature, but it also has Madness. Hell Mongrel can let you discard cards out of your hand to give him extra power. Doesn't matter too much for our deck. Weirded Vampire just is a vanilla with Madness. Malevolent Whispers can be used to steal somebody's win con off their board and then use it for ourselves, but it also has Madness. Senseless Rage can enchant a creature, which doesn't matter for us. Psychotic Episode can make a player reveal their hand and the top card of their library, take a card revealed that way, and put it at the bottom of their library. So if somebody tutors something to their hand, but they don't have the mana to use it to kill us, we can use this to take that combo out of the game so we can still keep on going. But again, 9 times out of 10, this is just a Madness card for us. Avacyn's Judgment. Distemper of the Blood. It's just more Madness. Brave Scrabbler. If it's got Madness on it, it also can let us get a creature card from our graveyard back to our hand, which matters for the type of deck we are playing. Insatiable Gorgers attacks each combat if able, and it has Madness. Violent Interruption can deal 4 damage to a divided number of cards, but it also has Madness. Blood Mad Vampire and Blood Boil Sorcerer and Nightshade Assassin are all functionally just Madness cards for us. Then we've got Blazing Root Walla, Blood Hall Priest, Fiery Temper, which can kill something, but it has Madness. Abandoned Reason has text on it that doesn't matter for us. Biting Rain can be used to kill a token commander's board. If somebody's got like Ivy Lane combo in a CEDH game, but they didn't get the Concordant Crossroads somehow, maybe they just didn't play all the right tutors, then sure, we can just wipe the token board out. Very unlikely that's going to happen. Most of the time, if somebody gets the infinite token board, they just win automatically. And it's CEDH, let's be honest. 90% of your games, you're losing to Thassa anyway. Incorrigible Youths has text and Madness. Stormcrook Occultist. All of these next cards here, I don't need to tell you what they do. They all have Madness. That is all that matters. Call to the Netherworld is interesting, though. Return a black creature from our graveyard to our hand. That will matter 1 in a billion times. Most of the time, it's just going to be a Madness card. That's 45 cards of the deck done in, like, what, 3 minutes? That was easy. Like I said, this is going to be one of the easiest decks that we can talk about. Let's go ahead and go into the, that's the wrong area. The Supporting the Madness section of the deck. These are a couple cards we have as backup plans for our Madness. Shadow of the Grave. Return all cards in your graveyard that you cycled or discarded this turn to your hand. So if Anji has cycled, 12 to 20 cards out of our hand, that's another draw 20 we get with Shadow of the Grave. Bag of Holding. Whenever you discard a card, exile it from your graveyard. We can also sack the Bag of Holding to take all the cards exiled with it and put it in our hand. So we can play Bag of Holding on turn 1, and then as we're getting rid of our hand, if we hit a clump of mana and we can't get any further, we can use the Bag of Holding to refresh our hand with all kinds of Madness cards, and then Angie can get us to our combo. These are a couple of backup plans to make sure that we do not just lose the game when things go wrong for us. But now we need to talk about the combo. And it's not Command Tower. That was my mouse being finicky. No, this is the combo. This right here. World Gorger Dragon, Animate Dead, and Fireball. That is it. Let's talk about what these cards do. World Gorger Dragon's got Flying and Trample. When it enters the battlefield, exile all other permanents you control. That includes your lands. That's important. And whenever it leaves the battlefield, return all the exiled cards from the battlefield to their owner's control. So, the next card is Animate Dead. Enchant a creature in your graveyard, put it on the battlefield. It's Premature Burial from Yu-Gi-Oh! It's Call a Haunted from Yu-Gi-Oh! That's all it is. You just enchant the creature from your graveyard, put it on the battlefield, and if Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, then the creature is put into the graveyard. So, here's what happens. World Gorger Dragon goes into our graveyard because we throw it there with Angie. We play Animate Dead to get World Gorger Dragon onto the battlefield. World Gorger Dragon throws away the Animate Dead and every other card we own. All of those cards are gone. But now the World Gorger Dragon has to die, putting all the cards back onto our battlefield so that Animate Dead is back on the battlefield targeting the World Gorger Dragon. While Animate Dead is on the stack, we tap all of our lands, probably about 3 of them. It's CEDH, we're not getting far. Tap 3 lands, get 3 mana, Animate Dead puts the World Gorger Dragon on the battlefield, rinse and repeat, you have infinite mana. When you have enough mana, when you've put enough zeros at the end of your mana pool, just choose a different creature in your graveyard with Animate Dead, and then the combo will stop, and you will have infinite mana in your mana pool to burn somebody's life down with Fireball, which says, pay red and X, deal X damage divided evenly for to any number of permanents, or people. So we are going to cast Fireball, we are going to target all 3 of our opponents, and we are going to say, hey, Joey, take 15 billion damage. Kaiba, take 15 billion in tool damage, because I don't like your face. Yogi, take 14 billion damage, because I likes ya. That's what we're doing. That's the combo. World Gorger and Animate Dead give us infinite mana. Fireball kills everybody. Let's say they stop your Fireball. Let's say they do that. That might happen. So that's where Abyssin's Judgment comes in. The madness of Abyssin's Judgment, if you discard it out of your hand, you can pay 1 and X to deal that much damage divided as you choose amongst any number of players. That's just another way to burn everybody to death. Abyssin's Judgment kills everybody identically to the way Fireball does. It even costs less mana. And if our lands cannot be part of our tap and untap strategy, if for some reason we cannot store mana into our mana pool, there are some Staxy effects we may encounter where that can happen. Prize Statue and Kalane. Kalane these are our backup plans. Every single time these enter the battlefield, they will generate us a token, and we will effectively get infinite mana that way as well. Infinite treasure tokens will come onto the board, and suddenly we will have infinite mana via these mechanisms instead. So that's the combo, just World Gorger Dragon and Animate Dead. Now we need to talk about the land base. It is a very, very basic land base in the deck because we just want to do one thing, and I am trying to run a CEDH combo deck on a budget of $15, shoestrings, and a dream. So 16 mountains, 16 swamps, a command tower, and a smoldering marsh as our untapped dual lands. And then we can only afford Shire Terrace and Promising Vein as our untapped fetching lands, because if we are playing a CEDH deck, none, and I mean none, of our cards can be come into play tapped lands. We cannot afford things like Myriad Landscape in the CEDH format. You can't afford to use temples. You can't afford to use searchable tapped lands. You can't afford any of that loss of speed. It is honestly better to run basics than it is to run come into tapped duels when you are playing CEDH. So do not run anything besides non-tapped lands when you are running Anji at a CEDH table. So, like I said, the function of this deck is to get a hand that has at least a mana rock or 2, or even a couple rituals. Get Angie out on turn 2 as fast as you possibly can, and on turn 3, tap Angie a bunch of times, go through your entire deck, getting rid of one of your 45 Madness cards until you hit Animate Dead and World Gorger Dragon. At that point, throw the World Gorger Dragon into your graveyard, cast the Animate Dead, and just, you have infinite mana now. Just hit them with Fireball. The game's over. You're done. The game is finished. Everybody is dead. And if they don't die to this, then when their turn comes up, they're going to summon Thassa's anyway with Demonic Consultation. And you'll just move on to the next game, because CEDH games can last 15 minutes and a dream long. I'm just kidding. They actually last longer than that. Usually your first few turns is everybody stopping each other's combos, and then a couple turns of grinding, and then a couple more combos come out, or the stacks player is slowing everybody down. The good news is, because we are running about a turn later than all the other CEDH players at the table, we won't be part of that initial volley of spells and counterspells. which actually gives us a pretty good window to just win the game outright there. So, you said I couldn't do it. You said I couldn't make a CEDH combo deck, a deck that wins very linearly on turn 2, 3, or 4 for $15. No, I can. I can. And you can build this deck for pennies, gum, and a little bit of pocket lint. It is $15.81 total, with 63 of those pennies being locked up in the price of our commander. So, suck it. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is the only time I'm going to be showing a CEDH deck on this channel. It's not my most favorite format to play. I do have Shalayan Halar fully upgraded for CEDH, Ancient Tomb at all, so I do have that if somebody wants me to show my deck list, but again, it's not what I prefer to play. I've done Veyron CEDH, I have Shalayan Halar CEDH, and I've got friends that have other CEDH decks that are built that we've played a couple times. I prefer casual Commander, though. I like the inclusivity of it. I don't like the everybody has to have $1 billion to make this deck work, or a bunch of proxies, or you have to be playing something super jank and linear like what I've shown here. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and this is a wacky one. Insert end of video tagline here. Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability that Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.